To Monday, November 9th, 2015. Hey, it's a good week. Got a lot of reviews already done today, and working on this is basically a get reviews done day, but there's so many reviews to talk about. But I'm here to answer questions. I just want to remind everybody who's watching to don't forget that there is the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund auction is still live this week, so there's still time to still put stuff up or go on and bid on the things that are in there. Also, I'd like to remind you that Dice Tower Con is opening up for registration before I do another Q&A. So keep that in mind and be ready to sign up for that. Okay, now that I've started, I will answer the questions. Remember, I will only answer the questions that I really want to answer. Sometimes questions have been answered in other Q&As. Sometimes I'll repeat my answers of them because it's been a while since I talked about them. If you continually ask the same question over and over again, though, and because you thought I missed it the first time, I didn't miss it the first time. I just skipped over it for whatever reason. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Estimated time on Jason's collection video. Actually, we set a date for that, so you will see that probably Christmas time. There's a reason for that. There's just a good chance. Jason lives an hour from me, and while he's keen on jumping in a car and coming down here every time, I'm not as keen going up there just to record something. I just don't usually have the time for that. So I did figure out a time in December when I can go up and really spend some time and try to show off his collection. Let's see. What has been your favorite top 10 to record? Well, that's pretty easy. I think the top 10 overrated. The very first time we did one at Dice Tower Con, that was just a lot of fun for us to record. We haven't, we do different top 10s at each of the conventions, and usually we run into some sort of problem, mostly because, like last year we had the mics, and I didn't like the mics at all because it just wasn't the same as just doing it, you know, having to hold the mic to your mouth and such. But hopefully this coming year our audio problems will be resolved because I have my eye on some good microphone setups, and this year's Kickstarter will be all about the audio. Am I going to play Fallout 4? Well, I'm not a huge post-apocalyptic guy. I'd be more interested in a sequel to the Oblivion series. Or I'm sorry, not the Oblivion, the Morrowind, well, the Dragon, whatever they are called, Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim. I'd be much more interested. I'm much more interested in playing the fantasy. That post-apocalyptic thing, it doesn't really do it for me. Let's see. Can you give us a 3-word review of Exploding Kittens? I haven't played. All right, let's see if we're okay. What are my thoughts on the new Fury of Dracula? Well, I enjoyed it. I don't feel like it's changed that dramatically from the second one, although combat is much more streamlined. Dracula is slightly toned down in strength. Those are both changes that I'm very much in favor of. We'll be doing a full-on Miami Dice review of that. There's a small chance it'll go up this week. If not, you'll have to wait till after Board Game Geek Con to see that. The week of Thanksgiving. We'll do our full review of it. Let's see. What's my favorite snack or food to eat while gaming? Carrot sticks now, I'm trying to say. Pretzels, probably. What game have you blinged out the most with better components? Well, that's a tough call. I really made Power Grid look nice because I have just all sorts of stuff from different things. Caverna's really blinged out, although it was kind of blinged out to begin with. Those are probably the two that I blinged out the most. Lords of Waterdeep, I have a little bit. If I can think of a way to bling out a game, and I have the opportunity to do so, I probably will. There are a lot of really positive things, says Jason, happening in the industry at the moment. But do you see any pitfalls in the industry at the moment? Things that are a concern or could become a problem? I'm always cautious to say that something's a problem. I am worried about the dramatic amount of hype in the industry currently, especially towards unreleased products, especially when we have released products that are tremendously fine. I don't see that as much of a problem in the industry, though, because that's more of a problem of an online thing. Like when I talk to people who are gaming and stuff, they're actually playing games that are being published. But it just reminds me of when you're driving and you see that sign and you get closer and closer and all of a sudden it goes boom and it's gone. That's how I feel many games are these days. It's like, oh, that game's coming, it's coming, and we talk more about the game before it's published than we do once it's published. Once it's published, it's like, oh yeah, cool. What's next? And I feel like that may be a problem with maybe the game community. I also think there's certainly a cadre of the younger reviewers, not younger in age, but newer reviewers, and not all new reviewers, but many of the newer reviewers are really, really pushing Kickstarter games or these small games that they get their hands on, because those are the games they get their hands on, and so they're acting like those games sometimes are Game of the Year material, when many times they're not even close. Neither one of these is big problems, though. I don't really see any problems right now in the industry. I'm sure there's things there. There's obviously bad and wicked people in the hobby like there is anywhere else, people causing problems and things. But a lot of that stuff happens behind the scenes and such. It's not really... But for mostly, the health of the industry is really doing well. The game I look most forward to playing that I haven't played yet from Essen. Tail Feathers, maybe? There's a whole... I have like 3 bookshelves downstairs of games, so there's a lot. There's also a small game I'm really pumped about playing called The Producers, I think is it. It's about making movies in the old Hollywood days. I saw this at Essen. It looked really fascinating. Most of the games that I was pumped about playing I have played, but there's still piles down there, and I might pull one out and be like, oh yeah, I really wanted to try this one out. How do you deal with the downtime with a game group between setup and the takedown of heavy games like Dead of Winter? Between setup and takedown. Isn't between setup and takedown the game? I think what you mean is like taking the game down. How do you deal with downtime? That's not really downtime, because usually everyone helps. I mean, most of the time everyone at the table is putting the game away. Now, if you're playing with me and it's right before one of my review times, I'll just say, hey, shove everything back in the box, and I'll clean it up later on, and we go to the next game. But if it's a game, I mean, other than that, we just all help clean up, put it together. I never really found that to be downtime. It just, we put it together. If that's not what you meant, if you could clarify that, maybe I can answer that better. What game components do you hate? I really don't like how YouTube, when I scroll sometimes, just a little bit, it will shoot all the way to the bottom. Anyhow, what game components do you hate? Well, that's really easy. I've said this in the past, but paper money, and I really, really thought about paper money recently because 504 comes with paper money, and wow, did I hate that paper money. Wow, did I hate it. We were passing it around the whole time. It is one of the least fun gaming. I don't understand how people like it. Because you're constantly passing it, you're flipping through it, you're counting through it, especially when you have to make change all the time. It's such a pain in the neck. What does see you on the flip side even mean? I'm pretty sure it means see you later. Did Sam coin that? I don't know. More Tom versus Jason Dice Masters? That's a possibility. It's a possibility that he might come down at some point and do more Dice Masters. We are really... The Dice Tower is always evolving, right? And so you're seeing some of that now. Last year I was by myself, and so Jason could pop in anytime we want. We play a 2-player Dice Masters game. Now I got Sam and Z working with me many days a week, and we're getting a lot more videos reviewed and done. And even, again, this is another thing you don't see in the forefront, but when we go to conventions, a lot of work goes into each convention that we go to, and we have to plan and do a lot of things behind the scenes, and that can sometimes cut into stuff like that. Let's see here. Elder Scrolls. Yeah, that's the name of the... Elder Scrolls is the name of the Morrowind, Skyrim, and all that stuff. What's the most grievous wound you've ever incurred? I'm assuming outwardly. I I had a tooth go bad. That was the worst pain I've ever felt. Nothing else has compared to that. I'd prefer not to get any other grievous wounds. My top 3 ice cream flavors. Haven't I done this one before? Maybe I have. But I mean, it's different. Like if I'm just going for regular flavors you can get, number 1 is cookie dough. I really do like mint chocolate chip and blueberry cheesecake. Those are the regular flavors. I'd have to think long and hard if we went into like the cool flavors that Baskin Robbins and stuff has. Personally, my favorite flavor of ice cream is probably to take a couple scoops of vanilla ice cream and then sundae the sucker out of that one. I love toppings for sundaes, and I have many of them. Or going to Dairy Queen and getting a Blizzard and then just picking whatever I want to go in that Blizzard. That's, I think, what I like the most. What is your favorite pleasant surprise when unboxing a new game? I think it's my favorite pleasant surprise is when I open it up and then I don't want to say there's a lot of pieces because sometimes you're like, oh, these pieces. I do like when I pick up a sheet of the different counters that you punch out and some of them are already falling out. Oh, it's great because that just means I'm going to go ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, and they all pop out so nicely. I hate ripping the back of counters because they won't punch out of the punch out things properly. So I guess that would be what it would be, or thick counters. I'm like, woo, or just a really cool piece that you didn't know was in the game. If you could only eat food from one animal, what would it be? Chicken, pig, or cow? Chicken, I guess. It seems to be the most diverse. We'll say I'll be going to Essen next year. That is the plan. Like I said, I just bought a new day timer. And I've been going through and filling out all the different conventions we're going to next year. Really kind of surprising. At this point, December, January, February is a 3-month block where we'll be at home. So we're kind of looking forward to that. There's a possibility, I guess, someone could talk us into coming to a convention in February, but probably not. Let's see here. Am I ever going to review Yves Tourigny's Blueprints? Dan King did, but we never heard your opinions on this popular dice game. Blueprints dice game. This is. I just want to make sure I played this one. I believe. Is this the one that Tasty Minstrel threw in with their Office game? No, this is a different one. Okay, because that one was awful. This one's from Z-Man Games. I have not played this one yet. I might have it even. No, it's 2013. No, I don't have it, probably. I don't know. I haven't played it. I apologize. And I know the proper response is, we'll get it and play it. But again, we really literally have a queue that's like 250 games long right now. I'm not adding older games to that just because someone wants a review of it. There's a lot of great games that need to be reviewed. We will do our best, but at this point, we're still not doing requests because we simply just don't have the time for that. Star Wars Rebellion, how excited are you? I'm really excited about this one. I would be more excited, I think, if I had more of an inkling how the game works. And then he says, did you have an inkling that it was in the works? I did not. That was a complete surprise. I guessed that at some point Fantasy Flight would announce some large sci-fi type game. I had hoped for a while that they would remake Twilight Imperium with the Star Wars thing, but I think at this point that that's simply not going to happen. So I'm pretty happy with this. It looks great. I hope it's really good. You said you would cut down on the top 10 lists. Any chance you'll go back on that decision? Have we cut down on them? I think we're doing them almost every other 2 weeks. We didn't do one last week because we did a Christmas list. To be fair, I feel like we did 5 top 12 lists, game lists. So that took place for a top 10, but we're doing them almost every other week. You'll see some more coming in December for sure. One of the things that I'd like to point out, and I'll say this here, and I wish I could put it on the website sometimes, is people think I have a lot of influence with game companies, and maybe I have some. I won't argue that I certainly can talk to them and such, but I am not a prosecutor for this. I'm not a liaison, and people all the time will say, I emailed this company and they haven't emailed me back. Can you email them for me? Well, I might be able to do that, and maybe they would respond. I don't know, but the fact is, if I started doing that, that's all I would ever do again. Every day, okay, now I need to email. And that's not my job to do that. That's that company's job. And I'm not going to try to, and some people are like, you need to publicly shame this company. That's not our goal either. I mean, like I said, there's some bad companies, and we may have to call companies out in the future. I don't know. But I'm not ever going to call someone out, especially when someone says so. I've had people write me and say, here's a problem I have with the company. Please make this public. That's not my place to do that. I don't really think you should make major disagreements and things public. There's a lot of stuff, honestly, folks, that you don't see behind the scene where people are really unhappy with each other. You might see a company split or someone go from one company, and there's some really bad blood there. But they are professional enough not to say it publicly. I mean, let's say me and Sam and Z had a disagreement. We would keep that behind the scenes. We would not make that public. It's not your business when that goes on. And I really wish, I mean, most companies and most people in the board game business do that, but a few don't. And so then when people see that, they usually, I need to take his side. No, you shouldn't take that person's side because they're being unprofessional right now. And whether they're in the right or wrong, that's not the proper way to deal with these things. Do you think 504 will have staying power? I'm going to hold off on that one. I'm still compiling my thoughts on that because I will be doing the review of 504 this week. I think you should watch that review. I'll kind of give my thoughts there, and maybe I'll come back and talk about it later on. Any opinions on the Risk Star Wars Black Series? I know that Joel, I think, was it Joel? Someone just did a video where they compared the two of them, and I have not had a chance to watch that. Maybe someone can enlighten me. As far as I know, it's just different miniatures. Some new extra miniatures were added in the black box version, which is nice. But if I was doing that, I think I would just go out of my way and buy maybe micro machines or something like that, like little miniatures of those models, and that might come out cheaper. I'm not sure. But since I didn't keep the game anyway, it's a very fun game, but Star Wars Queen's Gambit is still better. Oh, this person says, any idea why Cryptozoic have yet to reprint Spyfall? It's been almost a year since it's sold out at record speed. Well, companies often make mistakes and over, guessing or, how much of a game is going to sell. And I'm really surprised that Cryptozoic thought it would sell that little. We told them. But beyond all that, you have to be very cautious sometimes in realizing just how difficult it can be to reprint a game. Let's say, for example, a game has sold out, and I'm like, ooh, we need to reprint that. It can't be in the stores next week. It can sometimes take months, many months, for you saying, I want this game to be reprinted, till it actually does get reprinted. There are things that mess up the timelines. There are holidays, there are events, there are shipping strikes, there is a queue at the factories that produce these games for other games. And so I usually cut publishers some slack in that regard. It takes a while to get things back. What publishers need to do, and many of them do it, is they say, oh, this is going to sell out. Let's order the second print run right now. So they've ordered the second print run and the third print run before the first print run has sold out. And then there's still a delay between them, but at least they were on the ball that way. And if a game sells well consistently, then you never notice that it sells out because they track the numbers and say, okay, here's where we ordered, here's where we think we'll run out of stock of this product, so let's put in the order for the 8th print run or whatever the print run is at that point in time. It says, for a month, Dice Tower was raving about Pandemic Legacy. Then you guys played Time Stories and said Time Stories was a better thematic game than Pandemic Legacy. Okay. I don't see how that's anti-hype versus hype. That's just the order we played them in. We played Pandemic Legacy first, and then we played Time Stories. And, I said Time Stories was a better thematic game than Pandemic Legacy. That's just me. We will be putting up our full Time Stories review this week. We've already recorded it, so I think I'd rather, again, that you wait and watch that, because that gives not just my opinion, but Sam and Z's opinion, and we do talk a little bit about the comparisons of them, but in essence, they're really two different games. I went into, of course, we were hyped about Pandemic Legacy. We were hyped about Time Stories, I suppose. Sam and Z went into Time Stories with not that much hype. I know that, because they had heard about it and stuff, but they didn't know much about it from what I told them. And they went into it with fresh eyes. So you should watch their opinions, because they went into it with almost no hype at all. So see what they think about it when we're done. When you go well over 200K on next year's Kickstarter, well, one can dream, but that's not even my dream. I have some numbers I don't think I need. We'll see. He says, but anyway, who would be some other people you try to hire? Well, I'm still thinking about this. I need to hire some people behind the scenes. I would probably want to hire somebody who's willing to move to Homestead, because us working with them is a lot easier when someone is here. I need people to help with video editing. I need maybe a video audio engineer, someone who could be in the room while we record this. At the same time, I wouldn't mind also looking for someone who's like us, who's on the camera, but also does video editing behind the scenes. I don't have anyone particular in mind. I do know that I would like to grow as the Dice Tower. I've talked to a few people about it. I have yet not found someone who is someone that I like, yeah, this would be great person to add to the Dice Tower, and who was also willing to do it. So it's not like we're going to pay a ton of money if you work for us. All I can promise when you work for the Dice Tower is that it's a pretty fun job. Top 3 favorite Star Wars factions. Star Wars factions. I'm assuming SW means Star Wars. Oh, Summoner Wars. That's. I don't know why I thought Star Wars. Summoner Wars factions. The Jungle Elves, easy. The Undead guys. Forget the name of them. The bad guys. The opposite of the Angels. And the Rams. The Vanguard of the Rams. Let's see. Is there a must-have promo for any board game in your opinion? I don't know. I don't really go out of my way to get promos as much as some people do. I've gotten promos before, and someone else like, oh, that promo. And I'm like, here, you take it. The promos are usually not that big of a deal to me. I like promos. They add to a game, but I don't know if there's any must-have promos. I really think the one that we have for Sheriff of Nottingham, with the doubling cubes, I really like using that one. I'll add that in any game of Sheriff of Nottingham that I play. I think that there's a promo for Piece of Cake, which is like a wild thing. I really, really like that promo. I'm sure there's a couple other promos that I'm not thinking of that I really like having in a game. I don't know that there's any promo that's must-have. Maybe someone can think of one, but I can't. Which reviews has produced the most disagreement from your viewers? People tend to be rather loud about stuff online when they disagree. You know, interestingly enough, when you review positively, people tend to like that more than if you review negatively. There are a few reviewers out there, mostly written reviewers, who seem to, yes, I review stuff negatively, look at me, and okay, that's fine, you know. But people aren't really keen on negative stuff, but they love to read it, right? They love to, when I do a negative review, people want to come in and they want to point out why you're wrong. Now, 99% of the time, if I do a negative review on the game, it's because I didn't play it correctly. That is what I'm told. Always. Always. Like, for example, I did Baby Blues last week, which was just a really terrible take-that card game. And I didn't mention in the review that you could trade cards. I should have mentioned it. But at the same time, it did nothing for the game. I mean, it really... The trading makes it worse, actually. Because it's like, does anyone have this card in need? Anyone? 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 Anyhow. But when that happened, everyone's like, well, if you'd just done that, you would have found out that this game was good. And I get emails with this stuff, and so, whatever. When I do negative reviews, they will usually draw the ire of the crew who likes that game. This is very evident whenever I don't like a heavy euro. No one cares when I like a heavy euro, which I do, and then people are like, oh, that's fine, that's fine. When I don't like one, it's like, well, Tom, this isn't your game anyway. Well, okay, I thought maybe it might be, so that's why I played it, and I didn't like it. And I have some valid reasons I didn't like it. You can still like the game, but I get a lot of garbage. I got a lot of garbage over that card game that was based on a computer game. I got a lot of negative feedback on that because there was a community of players of that. They went and posted on their forums, and I really got a chuckle out of reading some of those. But I'll tell you, folks, when reviewers start reviewing things negatively and people do not like that, they'll come back and hit hard and really saying negative things about the reviewer. And there's a reason that many reviewers don't do negative reviews or such. I've gotten kind of used to it. It's more water off a duck's back at this point. It doesn't always feel good, Sometimes I'll dislike a game and I'll go on a Board Game Geek and I'm like, oh, here we go. And because there's like no negativity about it. It's almost always a Kickstarter game, right? And so all the early reviews are very positive and everything. I'm like, here I go. I'm going to say this game isn't that good, and I'm certainly going to hear back on it. A good example would be Far Space Foundry. I just did not like that game much at all. I don't think it's a terrible game. I'm glad the people who like it, but I said I didn't like it, and I certainly heard a lot of negative feedback about that. Maybe Vasco da Gama? Who knows? All right. What's the worst game that you still have in your collection, and why do you still keep it? I mean, I keep some games I don't like that much because my kids love them, and so I keep those. That would be it. Other than that, I wouldn't keep bad games in my collection. Is Risk Legacy still worth playing, considering Pandemic Legacy is out with further seasons to come? I think so, because Risk Legacy has a couple advantages. One, it's a competitive game. You might like that. Risk Legacy also has different branches. Pandemic has one driving story through it. Risk Legacy, things can happen in different orders. And with Risk Legacy, when you're finished, you can still play on the board for, well, ever. Do you think El Grande Big Box is a worthy purchase if you have the original already just to get the expansions? I do not know the answer to that. My initial thoughts are no. But let me play it some more and see. I don't think so. I think the box is really ridiculously big. I think they made it the same size as the Alhambra Big Box on purpose, but it doesn't need to be that big, that's for sure. And it's really weird. They made a bigger box, and then they made the Castillo really small. The original Castillo is amazing. Well, whatever. Am I going to the New York Toy Fair? Probably not. I apologize. What was the last surprise game you added to your collection? Probably either Outfoxed or Dr. Eureka. I did not realize how much. I mean, Outfoxed is gangbusters with my kids. My kids love that game. And I love it because it's a cooperative deduction game. I'm so happy that they like it as much as they do. And Dr. Eureka, which I wasn't expecting that game to be as cool as it was. With mixing dexterity with logic, just a really cool party game. It works for kids, adults, everyone can be playing at the same time. It works. Those are the games that really surprised me. Do you ever go to a gun range? I do not. I do not wish to be shot. But if you mean do I go shoot, I don't. I shot once when I was a teenager, and while I'm sure that a lot of people get enjoyment out of it, it's not something that I'm that interested in. Although I've had several people in Texas offer to take me when I came to Board Game Geek Con, but I did not take them up on that. In Sheriff of Nottingham, can you pay the sheriff to open someone else's bag, and can that guy pay to have it not open? And can you pay him to open your own bag to trip him up? You can do all sorts of things. I've done it before. I'm like, I'll give you $3 right now to open my bag. That's how confident I am that you will lose money. I'm going to give you 3, but you're going to give me 10 right back. Or I'll say, before we even open negotiations, I'd like to say I'm going to give you 15 coins, and that is to not open my bag and to open Sam's. Because I know he's lying. But you have to do both those conditions or you ain't getting the money. To me, that makes Sheriff so much more fun when you do stuff like that. Do you think Pandemic Legacy will reach number 1 in Board Game Geek ranking? I don't know. Will I be reviewing Ghostbusters? Well, I hope to. Although, it has like a little bit of campaigning in it, so it may take me a little bit longer to play. What's a good gateway dice placement game? Kingsburg, probably. It's really a good game. Do you consider dartboards a board game? I do not. Although, I can't remember the name of it. I got rid of it years ago. There was a dartboard war game, essentially where they had a map of the world, and then you would throw these magnetic darts at it, and then where they land it would be where you would move pieces to. You start with pieces, and then you would throw darts. Okay, and now I'm attacking here. And when you did attack someone, then you both threw at a little target, and whoever got closer to the middle won the attack. So mix darts with Risk, essentially. It was just so weird. I kept it because it was such a neat idea. Didn't play that very well because I'm not very good with darts. But I don't have it any longer. I got rid of that before I left Korea. But it was, oh man, I can't remember the name of it. But that would be a dart board game. Art is a major cost in game production. When designing a card game, how do you know how many cards you can make without having a publisher balk when you present your prototype? I don't think they really care about that right then and there because they could repeat artwork on cards. It's possible. Not every card has to have unique artwork in every game. It's really cool when it does, but that is very expensive. And not so much that it's expensive, but it's also very time-consuming when that happens to people. But I don't think the prototype has anything to do with that. Do you have an issue with calling slaves slaves in historical-ish games like Five Tribes, Imperial Settlers, or Underground Railroad? I guess I would need to know more. Should I call them something else? Is calling a slave a politically incorrect thing to do? I'm not saying that in jest. I really don't know. I mean I know there's a different thing between having unease and using slaves in games, but calling them slaves, I'm not quite sure if there's a problem with that. So yes, I do. Is that bad? Polls show the board game community is 96% male. Why do you think publishers force political correctness in so many games with female characters? That's a nonsense thing to say. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be offensive here, but come on now. Polls show gaming community is 96% male. What poll is that? Let's poll my house. Tom Vasel, male. Laura Vasel is a minor gamer, so we'll count her. Female. Melody Vasel, definitely a gamer. Female. Amy, she's not much of a gamer, but she plays games occasionally. Female. Holly, definitely a gamer. Female. The rest of my kids, except, you know, the one kid who doesn't play in my house is Jimmy because he's less than 2 and doesn't play games. So those percentages don't hold up here, sir. Also, in the gaming community, that the amount of females who are playing games is much higher. At Board Game Geek and Dice Tower Con, it's definitely over 25% and reaching higher than that. And it's never going to get higher if we don't make the board gaming community more inviting to women. Why would we not want women to play? And it's not politically correct to add male and females to games. It's just fun. I understand this. My daughters like to play female characters, and they're really struggling sometimes when we pull out a game and there's like 3 male characters and then there's a female character who looks like, and they're like, oh, well, she's the only female, I guess I'll play her. And that's what they want to do. I love games where you can reverse the sides of the thing, like Robinson Crusoe, where you're male on one side and female on the other side. But 96% male. That is not true, first of all. And secondly, even if it wasn't true, shouldn't we want to change that? Board gaming isn't a boys' club. Oh, and there we went, running through the questions too fast. Wow, I'm really behind in questions. All right, let's. I bet it's because I think I've been answering some of these very long. Wow, I'm really, really far behind with questions, and I apologize. So let me zoom down here. Let's see. All right. Are Z and Sam there hiding behind the camera? No, they're at home working on reviews. On Monday, we all stay home and work on as many reviews as we can that go up that week. Does Survive Space Attack replace Survive Escape from Atlantis? It may for some people. Even though I like Space a lot, I really like the Escape from Atlantis more. So that is the version I kept because that theming made more sense to me than the Space one did. Do you watch Q&As of other reviewers? I don't always, but I do watch them occasionally because I like to see what they're saying and stuff. Would you consider changing the format of Q&As? These have a lot of downtime. Oh, I apologize. But it's live. Sure, I could answer the questions outside of this, but then it wouldn't have that live feeling, I guess. So I might, but I'm pretty happy with these. Do you think any other review channels will get to the level of the Dice Tower? I'm certain that will happen. I will try for that to never happen. We want to be the best, but I don't ever think we'd be so prideful as for that not to happen. There's certainly reviewers out there trying for that to happen. Why not? I mean, that's how life works, and competition is good and all that. But I mean, I'm always going to try to make Dice Tower the best. It may not be, but that will always be my efforts and goals. Downtime between putting. Okay, this is way back when, and he clarified to say, how do you deal with downtime between putting one game away and setting up the next game? I go, how many people we got? Oh, there's like 10 people standing around. Great, this is the game I'm playing. Join me or don't. I honestly can't stand around when people go, oh, what should we play? So I just pick a game, and if people do not want to play that game or do not want to play with me or both, they can go play another game. I mean, that's the way I do it. If you come to my Saturday gaming thing, I will do my best when people come in and are looking for games. I will try to hunt someone to play a game with them. My Tuesday nights I'm not so concerned about. That's kind of where I play test stuff. I play test stuff on Saturday too, but I play stuff on that. If someone new comes in, I'll try to get them in a game. But if it's not your first time, people gather around getting games. But on Saturday, I will go around and try to make sure people are playing games with people if possible. You have stated that you do not drink alcohol. How do you feel about foods flavored with alcohol, like bourbon glazed steak? I haven't had that. Rum raisin ice cream, don't like it. Or vodka shrimp scampi. Have not had that either, but I have had stuff that was flavored a bit. I really like, there's some hot sauces that have a bit of that flavoring in them. I don't mind them that much, but I don't know what part of it is alcohol flavoring and stuff anyway. I don't know. I've had this stuff before, but I can't tell. Miami Dice episodes have lately had you, Sam, and Z in it, but the intro only has you and Sam. Why no love for Z? Well, mostly because we don't know that Z will always be in the Miami Dice stuff, even though he's in them a lot. And secondly, because the guy who made me that intro only makes me intros when he feels like it. So to ask him to redo it for Z, I have to wait. And so maybe someday we'll add that in. If you had to choose one to fight a zombie apocalypse, who would you choose as a partner, Jason, Z, or Sam? I guess Sam would be the best fighter. I don't know. What kind of such a question? You get to design the next case for Time Stories. What year do you set it in? What's the case? Well, I would set it in, let's see, Time Stories is currently the year 21 something. I would set it in the year 2085. And the case would be something about something in the future. I'd also like one set in a carnival setting where there's creepy clowns and stuff around. Are you going to go through your predictions for 2015? Yeah, I'll probably do that at the end of 2016. I honestly cannot. The other day I was like, what did I predict for 2015? I don't know. So I don't know if any of them have come true. I hope they have come true, but I have not even checked in them. I can't remember what they are. I need to start working on my predictions for 2016. A few months ago, you were all touting Blood Rage as the best game of 2015, and you couldn't see anything beating it. Have the likes of Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories now beaten it? Well, for that question, you're going to have to wait. It's only a month or so away when we start doing our top 10 list of the year. So I'm kind of holding off on those questions so you can figure out what my top 10 games of the year are. Let's see. How much time do you spend editing each episode review? Everything is different. A top 10 for us, editing for that is a long period of time. It's the longest thing we do is a top 10 list. While the videos are shorter, but not that short, we put a lot of time into editing. Who is your primary video editing? Do you do your own, or do you have it farmed out to Sam and Z? We all do different things. Sam and Z split the top 10s, although Sam probably has priority on editing a top 10 since Z edits Board Game Blender. I edit mostly all my own stuff, like I edit my reviews and the Board Game Breakfast and Miami Dice. But anything special like the Christmas videos we put up last week, all the editing was done by Z and Sam on those. And I've been doing the live playthroughs of Pandemic Legacy, but I will probably have Sam do some of the live playthroughs for Time Stories. We will be putting those up soon. Hopefully you guys enjoy those live playthroughs. Do you have any cool dice cups? I might. I have a Dice Tower dice cup. I don't use dice cups much unless they come in the game. Really. What is your new game ritual? I go, another game. All right, let's see what it is. Stick it on the shelf. Someone open that game up. Punch it. Put it downstairs. Analog or digital face in a watch? Oh, that's a good question. Definitely digital. And I know there's always those people like, but analog is the way to go. And I learned how to tell time, but the fact is, I can glance at a clock, having learned to tell time when I was 5, my whole life, and be like, that's 4:10. No, wait. Oh, no, that's that. Digital just makes it a lot easier for me. So I have the choice now with the Apple Watch, and I pick digital every time. Do you waste more time playing games or recording, editing videos? Do you waste more time? I don't think. I think spending more time. I'll probably spend more time playing. I think that it's really close, though. With so many games in the market, how do you choose which ones to review? We pretty much choose whatever we want to. Now, there's a lot of thought that I put into that. I mean, if a game it's easy to play, like, oh, I'll play this. You'll notice that when I'm constantly reviewing games, like this week I'm reviewing 15 games again. I just was in the mood to do that. You'll be like, oh, Tom, you did like a bunch of kids' games. Well, yeah, because they're easy to play for me and my family, and I think it's important not to let them fall in the shuffle. We shouldn't just be reviewing all the big games all the time. But these bigger games take time. Like, I wanted to review 504 a month ago, but it took a while to get that one played properly to where I feel like I can kind of review it. And so, also, I like to spread out my bigger games and have them come out each month. Let's see here. With top 3 spices for food. You know, the Kevin from the who does the Sheriff of Nottingham, the board game theater guy, he makes this spice that I really like. Other than that, I'm a huge fan of garlic, although I've really dropped off on garlic in the past 3 or 4 years. Not because I don't like garlic, because I just started using fresh garlic over garlic spice. Cinnamon sticks can be used for a variety of delicious additions to things. And paprika, maybe? I don't know. I had some really good ones. I had a maple syrup habanero one time, spice that I really liked. Do you ever see or play with Joe Stedman anymore? I don't. He is no longer working with the Dice Tower at all. In fact, he's hardly in board gaming at all. You won't see him much online. I believe he's in Texas at the moment. Do you make Sam put the stickers on all the games? No. But it does seem like every game that I gave him to open up and he's like, there's stickers in it. Yeah, I don't. That's not deliberate for sure. Let's see. Chicken? You'd give up dairy? Cheese? Oh. Yeah, I didn't realize that. A cow comes with the milk. That's cheating. Okay? If that's the case, I'd have to go with the cow because we cannot give up cheese or ice cream. Are there any TV series you're currently hooked on? There is not. Well, okay, there's Shark Tank. I watch Shark Tank religiously every week. I really, really enjoy that show. But other than that, no. what is the point of the proof of purchase token you get in some games? I think Chaz did a segment on our show. Technically, it's so you can send it in to show that you've gotten a game. I remember Fantasy Flight at one point. To get some sort of upgrade to a game, you had to send in a proof of purchase token. That was a long time ago. Now I think it's kept in there for in case you ever need to prove you purchased a game, which would be pretty bad for me since I always throw them away. Let's see. Now I'm starting to skip games to catch up here. Any plans on pimping out your game room more? No, not really. I'm pretty happy with where it's at, and I don't have much more room in the game room at this point in time. Are you going to Minnesota this year for anything? I am not. And I just realized that my computer's about to run out of battery. So let me just quick plug that in. I thought I had done so at the start. I did not. There we go. All right. I like this. Will you play Star Wars Battlefront 3 when it's released next week? Probably not. I just don't play many computer games. And if I did play a computer game, it has to be released on a Mac. I'm currently, if I do have some free time, I feel like playing a game, I usually find myself playing Final Fantasy VII on my iPad because that game is great. Although I'm almost at the point in Final Fantasy VII where I get to these points in every Final Fantasy game where I'm like, oh, I could beat the final guy. Yeah, I could build up some more too and get every cool thing. Okay, I'll build up and get the cool stuff, but no rush. And that's where I'm at, almost. I just got the last materia. I think I have every materia now. So now it's kind of like, I'm going to build up here, and then I'm going to go beat the Ruby weapon and the Jade weapon, and then I'm going to beat the final boss, and then I'm done with Final Fantasy VII again. But it was another good playthrough. Really like that game. What happened to your sponsorship with Fun Again Games? Fun Again Games is a great company, and the only reason I switched from them in Cool Stuff, or one of the main reason, was that Cool Stuff is closer to me in Orlando, and so it's easier for me to work with them. And we've had a really good relationship. Fun Again is all the way up there in Oregon, so check them out. They're a great company. What is this Nothing Personal Young Turks expansion I see on Cool Stuff? Oh, did Cool Stuff add Nothing Personal finally? I knew that was coming. I would have made a big deal about it on Board Game Breakfast. That's right, folks. You can go. Oh, this is exciting news, right? You can go to Cool Stuff right now and buy Nothing Personal, the second edition, for $42. Come on now, that's a great price. An Associates expansion, then the Power and Influence expansion, and the Young Turks expansion, and the Nothing Personal promo pack from the Dice Tower. Yeah, that's right. Go ahead and buy those. That's cool. That's nice. That's something I wanted ever since Nothing Personal was published. It only took them a little over 2 years, but hey, it's there. You can buy it on Cool Stuff. Hooray. Would you be interested in starting a second Dice Tower channel focusing on competitive card and board games? I don't actually understand that at all. Don't we already focus on competitive? If you mean like focusing on, a whole lot of stuff on Netrunner and stuff, then no, I'm not. I wouldn't be able to run it. Let's see here. Top 10 504 combination, that's never going to happen. And you got to watch my review of that because I have some interesting things to say about 504. Suffice it to say this, there's really not 504 games in that box-ish, kind of, sort of. You'll see. Any thoughts on Secret Wars Volume 2 for Marvel Legendary? I hope it's fun. It's going to have more characters. At this point, the new expansions for Marvel Legendary are essentially me getting more characters. I don't sit there and go, woo, there's like they announced next year Captain America. Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to that. That'd be fun, but I'm never going to play through all the combinations of Marvel Legendary I have now. So it's cool that they're adding more, and I'm excited to see them, but I'm not like sitting around thinking, I can't wait till it comes out. I got plenty. Which Thanksgiving dish do people look forward to you making? Well, I apologize. I do not mean to brag, but I feel like I'm pretty good at frying a turkey. I fry turkeys every year. I just got my new turkey fryer in the mail yesterday. I'm getting ready for the stuff. This week is Finish Reviews. Next week is Board Game Geek Con. The week after that is Tom Makes Thanksgiving Dinner. Now, don't get me wrong, my wife certainly is involved with that too. But last year, for Thanksgiving dinner, I made some jambalaya corn, some corn with some sausage and spices in it. We made some amazing stuffing. It was really good, or dressing, whatever you want to call it. But the fried turkeys are the king of the feast there. Are you interested in watching the new Warcraft movie? Oh, that's right. I forgot to go watch the trailer for that. I watched the teaser trailer. I think I'd be interested in that. Does it have a huge battle? I'd be interested. I love watching huge fantasy battles. Let's see here. Have you played or going to review The King is Dead from Osprey Games? I have not played it yet, but it's very high on my list to get that done. Will Time Stories review be spoiler-free? It will be. There is a point in the middle where I'm going to show you the first room, which is already on the internet and already shown out there, the very first place you go to. But before I do that, I'll say, hey, skip ahead a minute or two if you don't want to see this. I don't think it's much of a spoiler, but that's there. But the rest of it is very spoiler-free, because I strongly feel in this game I don't want to spoil it for people. But if you've played it and you are at a convention and you want to talk about it, please talk to me, because it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this to people. But I can't unless they played it. When is the next Dice Tower Kickstarter? January, as usual. I'm not sure what the date in January will be. I don't have that written down yet, but it'll be one of the... I usually kick it off on a Monday in January. Let's see. Do we need an Australian branch of the Dice Tower? Well... I'll take contributors. We don't have a branch yet. Let's see. Do you follow game markets outside the U.S., Europe, access? Here in Brazil, many good game developers are showing up. Well, I mean, we certainly keep an eye on those. I mean, the Japanese and Asian market's growing. There's Taiwan and Korea, but Japan is really kind of leading in the forefront there. Eastern Europe has really come alive with Poland and the Czech Republic leading the way there. Not a whole lot from mid-Asia at this point. There's some. Not much from Africa either, or South America. But the Brazilian market is growing, like you said, and there's Chile has some games coming from them. And so I would love if gaming was just this worldwide phenomenon that's everywhere. I have seen Cody Miller's latest game on Kickstarter, Tavarua, the designer of Zaya. Very different game. It's about surfing. So that's the second surfing game I've seen. I saw one with surfing that Jolly Roger Games did a while ago, designed by Alan Moon, actually. Let's see. What would be the best way to get into the game board business? Are there intern positions available through any major game companies? The best way to get into the board game business is to start going to game conventions and make friends with people, and eventually and then volunteer and do things like that, and then do a good enough job, and they may hire you. Really, that's the best way to do it. Go to a convention, work at a demo booth, and do a phenomenal job for them. And don't expect anything, but do a phenomenal job for them again. Eventually, someone will notice you doing that phenomenal job. Have you ever met Shut Up and Sit Down? I've met them briefly. We've had Paul on the Board Game Geek show last year. We met them briefly at Gen Con. They're always very busy. And there's usually a group of them, so mostly it's us saying hi to them. They were on the Dice Tower podcast 3 years ago or so, also. Did you get to see Porta Nigra? I think that's how you pronounce it, in Essen. I did. I've just already played it, actually. And my review for that will be going up the week after Board Game Geek Con. Are you participating in the Board Game Geek Secret Santa? I'm not at this point. Sometimes I jump in maybe as someone who needs to send someone a game. I don't really need a game for Christmas. That would be very anticlimactic for me to get a board game. This is what I want for Christmas. Or ties. No, I don't really need ties. I have enough ties. A pie, whatever. It's not a big deal. I don't care that much. Do I think that hype created by video reviews is hurting the industry in the long term by making people wary of the new great game? No, I don't think that. No, I don't think it's hurting the industry in the long term. I think people will eventually find reviewers that they trust. If you are constantly saying everything is amazing and great, I don't think you turn people against the industry. I think you just turn people against yourself because they're like, well, you like everything. Has anyone ever told you that you look like a person that gives good hugs? Well, you would be incorrect on that. I hug my daughters and my wife all the time, but I grew up in a non-hugging family much, and in a non-hugging area of the country. Pennsylvania, East Pennsylvania does not hug much. And so when I went to church in the South and people came up and hugged me, I was kind of like, well, okay. And I'm not a very good hugger, so no. I may look like it, but I'm not. I'm working on it. Let's see here. I've not played Epic yet. I plan to, but I've not played it, so I have no opinion on it at all. Let's see here. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. There's a lot of people ask questions like, when is this review coming out? When is this review coming out? We don't really have a schedule because that would drive us nuts. We just don't have time for a schedule. But they're coming. But all these games from Essen, once again, I keep telling people this all the time, all these games from Essen, we will get to them at some point. It is impossible for us to do them all in the first week. So by nature, many of them are going to get shoved back. I've done 30 games in the last 2 weeks. I'm doing 15 more this week. Sam and Z are both doing reviews. We physically cannot go faster than that. I'm working on it. We will eventually catch up because hopefully not too many games will be released for the next 3 or 4 months. So we will catch up in our queue. I'm working on it. But I can't tell you when any particular game is coming out. If a game is over a year old, you can assume we've skipped that one and won't be reviewing it. It still might happen, but just assume we won't. So let's see here. Almost out of time here. I think I might have missed a huge chunk of questions, and if I happen, I apologize. Oh, apparently a lot of people agree with the female gamer thing. That really gets me going, folks. I don't think anyone would call me a hardcore feminist, but I mean, my girls, they're girls and they play games, but they're gamers. It doesn't matter what gender they are, and anyone who says that they're not part of the hobby just... Let's see. Wow, I must be really behind in the questions considering that... all right, well, I'm going to zoom all the way down to the bottom. Sorry, folks, if I missed your questions. I'm just going to go down to the bottom and then catch up. How did we meet Rob the painter? If you guys missed it, we had a lot of fun on Friday. Rob played Sam in Imperial Assault. Me and Z handled the cameras. It was like my perfect dream where people play games and there were people operating things behind the scenes. I'd like to do more of that. We tried out the 2-camera thing, which was really exciting, even though one of those cameras was a... the inbuilt camera in the video camera inside the computer, so that one wasn't as good. But the fact that you could switch back and forth between the 2 cameras, really cool. So we plan to do more of that in the future, and then hopefully set that up with 2 actual good cameras that are doing that. So I'm excited about that. Are there long-term plans for Dice Tower cons in other cities? There are not. That may happen at some point in the future, but I don't see the reason for it to. I wanted the Dice Tower con so that Florida would have a local con. Other cities have their cons already, so I figured that Florida does not have a convention, but it does now. That's right, DicetowerCon.com. Let's go there right now and see what the time is at this point in time. Con.com. It says here 5 days and 21 hours and 59 minutes and 57 seconds. That's not much time. So let's see, 5 days. So that'd be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I guess next Sunday registration goes. Wonder why I picked a Sunday for it to go up. Well, whatever. But don't miss out on it. I'm serious. And that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up my live Q&A. I know that I missed many questions, but we will get to them next time. So save them and bring them in next time. I will probably do a live Q&A next week. I will say that we're going to put up a lot of stuff this week. Next week, we are essentially putting up nothing. You will see a board game breakfast and a weekend review and a live Q&A, and that's probably it, because we're going to Board Game Geek Con, and we're not going to do this often over the course of the year, but sometimes we just need to take some time off. When we go to a convention, we usually work doubly hard the week before. I did not want to work doubly hard this week. We've been killing ourselves lately. So I want to take that, especially because directly after Board Game Geek Con is Thanksgiving week, and we want to take a couple days off there. So we want to have extra content for that week, so that week you don't notice anything. And then after that, we go into Christmas season. So you'll see a little bit less content, or a lot bit less content next week, but have no fear. We will not stop reviewing games and everything. There will be some downtime, and I believe we have a big enough backlog of library that if you miss our stuff, you can go watch some of it. So anyhow, I appreciate everybody who came and asked questions. I hope to see many of you next week, either on my Q&A or at Board Game Geek Con. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to that. And now it's time to review some more games. So I'll see you guys, as Sam says, on the flip side, which stood for the DJs flipping the record over, as we all now know. All right. Talk to y'all later. Thank you, guys.